Welcome to the Sustainable Development Goals and Library Associations Europe webinar. My name is Vidar Lund, and I'm delighted to welcome attendees as a member of the Standing Committee of the Management of Library Association section of IFLA. The IFLA's Management of Library Association section, in collaboration with the new professional special interest group, the Environment, Sustainability and Library section, and the IFLA Regional Divisions, is proud to announce a webinar series on the Sustainable Development Goals and Library Associations. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are a call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and improve the lives and prospects of everyone, everywhere. The 17 goals were adopted by all UN members and are used by countries to guide their development efforts from 2016 to 2030. IFLA has advocated for libraries' inclusion in the SDGs and development efforts for many years, and in 2014 presented its first program at the United Nations. In Europe, library associations have joined these efforts, as we will see today. The United Nations has stated that the world is in the last decade of action to meet the SDGs. Libraries are sustainable accelerators. Library associations are key in moving forward the library agenda in each country. The MLAS's mission is to build and support strong library associations. Collaborating with other IFLA groups and regions of the world, this activity will allow us to support national library associations, highlighting effective strategies that will equip them to help the country to achieve development. Our webinar series follows the IFLA Strategic Direction 1.1, show the power of libraries in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. A working group from MLAS, in collaboration with IFLA New Professionals, ENSULIB and IFLA Regional Divisions, is coordinating webinars about various top topics resulting from a survey MLAS carried out during 2020-2021. The webinar format includes interactive opportunities to engage attendees in conversations in languages spoken in the regions. We hope everyone joins a breakout session. We will compile information from those conversations to inform programs at the IFLA's World Library Information Congress in Rotterdam this August. So, I would like to thank the IFLA NPSIG Magdalena Gomulka and Maria Simonovic and the entire team for their collaboration with Zoom and breakout rooms. So, some reminding remarks. Please turn off your microphone and maybe also camera during presentations. Our event will be recorded, as you saw when you entered the room. You can follow webinars updates on the IFLA and on MLAS on Facebook and Twitter. So, before we continue, I'd like to ask Magdalena Gomulka, convener of the new professional special interest group, to take us into an interactive exercise.
Yeah.
Magdalena.
Yes, thank you, Vidar. Hello, everyone. It's very nice to see you. We are very happy that so many of you were able to join us today. For the beginning of our webinar, we would like to invite you to fill in a very short survey. It's on the Menti website. So please go on your phone, open your browser and go to menti.com and write this code which is on the slide. You can also take a photo with your phone, and it gives you directly to our survey. We would like to find out more from which countries are you and where are you now. So I will give you 1 minute to go there, and then I also share my screen and we will see our countries where we are now. So, okay, so yeah, you can see also the code in the chat box. That's it. Okay, so we have a few presentation. So So let me share my screen because I see that.
Yes,
yes, we see. Okay, so I will share my screen. Yeah, here we have countries. So we have participants from Germany, France, Romania, Norway, Canada, Croatia, Spain, Austria, Bucharest, Canada, USA, Poland, Puerto Rico, Hungary, Switzerland, Serbia. So not only also countries from Europe, but also from other continents. We are very happy that to have you here. Okay, so just also a few seconds and we will see if our result will change. Oh, we have also participants from Denmark, Spain. That's really great. Ireland. Yeah, it changed. It changes. So, okay. Yeah, that's 41 answers. Okay, so I think that I can stop our conversation. So again, welcome on our webinar, and I give microphone to Vidar.
Thank you very much, Magdalena. This will be interesting to see how many answers the poll. Let me see. I just got some screen problems here. Okay. There, I guess I am. Okay, we have some experienced speakers for this webinar, and you will meet them all in sort of this this order. First, Loida Garcia Fibo, which is International Library Consultant. She's the chair of the IFLA Management Library Association's section, and as such, also member of the governing board of IFLA. Dr. Stuart Hamilton is the chair of the Europe Regional Division, at least until August. Is the head at the Libraries Development at Local Government Management Agency of Ireland. And he will be a member of the IFLA Governing Board from this August, I believe. Sherry Aldis, which is director at the United Nations Regional Information Center for Western Europe. Alicia Sayes Carot, she is president of the FESABID, the Spanish Library Association. Is also a member of the MLAS. Jacqueline Breitlit, I think she's off now, but she's from the German Library Association. She will enter the webinar a little later. Thomas Sture Rasmussen, he's the SDG coordinator for the Danish Library Association. And last but not least, Dr. Claudia Serbanuta, president Communities of the Future Association. She is a member of the extended board of the Romanian National Association of Public Libraries and Librarians. And in between there, we will also have breakout rooms so you can also answer and participate yourselves. So please, Loida, the table is yours, or the screen is yours.
Welcome, everyone, to our webinar about Sustainable Development Goals in Library Associations, the European Experience. And thank you for joining us. I wanted to personally mention that this is a great collaboration. We have started to present a webinar series on these topics. And we are delighted to collaborate with the IFLA New Professionals, ENSULIB, and the regional divisions, in this case, the European Regional Division. I would like to also thank MLAS Webinar Working Group for their work to make this event happen. We have an amazing team, and without them, we cannot have these webinars. We have Magdalena Komulka, convener of the IFLA New Professionals, and Maria Sivanovic, and the whole team, as Vidar mentioned. They are central to the webinars. Thank you so much for everything you do. We also have had different MLAS members moderating the webinars per region of the world. And today we are so glad that the moderator is Vidar Lund, president of the Norwegian Library Association and also member of MLAS. Lastly, I would like to invite everyone to attend the MLAS session during the World Library and Information Congress in Rotterdam. Our session is on August 24 at 13:15, entitled Strengthening Library Associations, the Importance of Advocacy Impact Evaluation and its Relevance to SDGs Advocacy. It is session 181, if you want to write it down and look it up later. We will present a summary from this webinar series and our project, the MLAS project on advocacy impact evaluation. We will have speakers speaking about the SDGs in the regions and also advocacy efforts in the region. So it's going to be very interesting. And without further ado, enjoy the webinar. And now back to Vidar.
Thank you, Loida. And welcome to Stuart Hamilton.
Thank you, Vidar. Thank you, Loida. Look, it's great to be here. The European Regional Division is really happy to be taking on this webinar with MLAS, with the New Professionals SIG, and with other colleagues from ENSULIB and other sections. My job today is to give you a quick insight into the European Regional Division, and then to talk a little bit about what we're looking at in terms of the SDGs, and I'm going to do that through the Irish perspective. So just bear with me as I have the inevitable issues sharing my screen, but I'll try and make this relatively painless. And we'll be looking to somebody who can hopefully tell me that that's gone okay.
Yes, we see.
Super. Okay. So, yep, I'm Stuart Hamilton. I'm the chair of the European Regional Division of IFLA. It's a new part of IFLA's structure. Previously, IFLA had 3 divisions, and we've now expanded to sort of map to the UN regional definitions. And Europe, basically, you know, we've spent 2 years finding our feet, trying to work out what our role is. It is what you would call big Europe. It's not just the European Union. We cover the countries across all of Europe, including the Caucasus. And our kind of mission is to promote IFLA activities in Europe, to promote European libraries within IFLA, to work in Europe with other European organizations. And I know on the webinar today there are representatives of a lot of other European organizations working in the library sector, many of which are already doing work in the area of the SDGs. So one of the things that the European Regional Division tries to do is not to step on anybody else's toes, because we don't believe in replication. So we try to take things forward in partnership. I think a key thing for all regional divisions, but certainly for the European one, is to support IFLA's high-level regional advocacy activities. And here we can go in the direction of the SDGs. All of the regional divisions have an action plan for the 2 years of the committee's term. And all regional committees actually have a specific focus on the SDGs. It's a kind of objective in common across all of the regional divisions. And in Europe, we've chosen to do sort of 2 things. One is to work with other stakeholders to find a shared approach to the SDGs and other related issues facing libraries in Europe. And that means dialogue, basically. It means understanding what EBLIDA is doing, what other organizations working in the space are doing around the SDGs, and complementing rather than trying to do something that replicates their work. But the specific piece we found that we would want to focus on concerns the voluntary national reviews. And I'm sure you'll be broadly familiar with the VNRs. This is the process by which countries report upon their progress against the SDGs every year at the UN's high-level political forum. And this year, by my count at least, we have 13 European countries reporting at the HLPF 2023. And Ireland is one of those countries. So what I thought I would do with my time was just give you a quick idea of what work in Ireland has looked like during the term of the European Regional Division, and sort of let you know how we've progressed, because on Friday I'll be going to New York to meet up with other people in the IFLA delegation to do some advocacy on behalf of libraries within the HLPF. So within Ireland, we basically have been able to use a lot of the IFLA arguments and documentation to make the case for libraries as a key partner for SDG implementation. The focus for us early on, this would have been last year, was to basically ensure that libraries were included in our national SDG implementation plan. And we were successfully able to do that by communicating some of the sort of IFLA argumentation to policymakers, particularly in the Department of Environment, Climate and Communications here in Ireland, but also in other relevant government departments. And we were able to get included in our implementation plan by being visible, by being relatively loud, and by making the case that libraries could be a key partner. So what we sort of find ourselves within the plan, we're represented as having a role in raising the profile and understanding of the SDGs across public libraries and their users. We're in the plan singled out to build on initiatives currently being held by libraries and to share best practice across our network. And then most visibly, and with government support, last September we launched an annual SDG week in the libraries, which will now continue this year and in future years to mark the anniversary of the SDGs themselves. So, you know, a national visible exercise for both the SDGs and for libraries is a bit of a win-win. And when I share these slides with anyone who's interested, the link at the bottom will take you to the National Implementation Plan when you can see what the libraries have been up to. The next step for us was to build on the relationships we developed during that phase and to get ourselves included into the voluntary national review. And again, we've been quite successful with this. The VNR was published last month. In order to sort of raise our profile, we took every opportunity we could get to present libraries at national sustainability events. We put ourselves forward to write something. I don't know if it's other people's experience, but if you do offer to write part of a government report, it's often welcomed in that, you know, additional content is something which people are always on the lookout for. So we were actually very lucky to be able to write an entire chapter on libraries in our voluntary national review, which to my understanding hasn't been done by any other VNR yet around the world, and we're really, really proud of this. And the chapter itself talks about what it is that libraries do in Ireland, how they contribute to sustainability and climate action, and we have case studies concerning our contributions to a number of specific goals. You can also, you know, take the opportunity to talk about what you want to see in the future, and we've called for more investment in digital inclusion activities, which is certainly something Ireland's been paying a lot of attention to after COVID, the issue of digital skills and digital literacy being absolutely fundamental building blocks for people to engage with access to information and the SDGs by extension. And again, that link at the bottom will take you through to the voluntary national review where you can see our chapter. So the VNR itself is going to be presented by our Minister for the Environment on Wednesday, the 19th of July. And the other thing that I thought you might be interested in was another thing that we called for in our chapter, which is the creation of a UN Friends of Libraries group. It doesn't exist at present, but I think if you've been following IFLA's activities for the last decade, we've been consistently making the case that libraries can be key partners in all areas of policy. So it's not just the SDGs, but things like internet governance, reading and literacy, obviously, digital inclusion, as I mentioned. So I'm kind of going to New York to try to sell this idea first to the Irish delegation in New York, the mission, to see if they're willing to take it forward with their member state colleagues. But I'm hoping that it might be an idea that could gain traction, and other countries and other library associations could start to move this, because if we were able to get that sort of caucus within the UN, it could be very beneficial to the library work that we do. And of course, that would generate a network of member state delegations and libraries partnerships that could be used to share best practice, but also to encourage other countries around the world to leverage libraries in support of the SDGs. And now, mindful of time, the last thing that I wanted to mention to you is that we have a brand new National Public Library strategy about to be launched here in Ireland. That's actually going to be launched on Monday. I've spent 2 years working on it. Now the Minister's going to launch it when I'm in New York. But it's a good thing that it's being launched. And a very, very key thing about the strategy is that public consultations, all of the work that we did in preparing it, revealed that we needed to have sustainability and climate action as a key strategic theme. So that is very present in our new library strategy. It's mapped to the SDGs, so you're actually able to use the document to continue to make the case within Irish policy circles. Targets in the strategy contribute to 15 out of 17 goals, and I think around about 31, 32 SDG targets. So that will be available digitally for those of you who are interested from next Monday. And just the last slide here shows some of the targets that we have under that strategic action. So, you know, there's a lot of things that libraries can be doing in this space, supporting local climate action plans, looking at the issues around library vehicles, looking at home energy saving awareness kits, and then those key pieces around the UN. So I think I'll stop there. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of the work that we've been doing in Ireland over the last couple of years in that sort of context of concentrating on the VNRs through the European Regional Division. And I'm looking forward to hearing from the other panelists about what they've been up to as well.
Thank you very much, Stuart. I didn't see if there were any questions in the chat. No, I don't think there were. If you could say something about how do the local libraries receive this, or how do you get to the local libraries so they actually do the things you plan, you're making the plans?
So my organisation is called the Local Government Management Agency, and I head the libraries team within the LGMA. My key stakeholders are the 30 city and county librarians from the 30 municipalities across the country that administer the 330 public libraries we have in Ireland. So I work very closely with those guys, and basically we're able to share a lot of information about what we're doing at a policy level. But I think the key thing for us was being able to get funding for a significant national project on food growing. So you could come down to your local library and you could pick up packets of seeds. And then basically we ran a big national program where people who are interested in growing their own food could come to lectures, workshops at the libraries after they picked up their seeds. And then when they'd initially grown a few things, pass on the next set of seeds from that first set of produce to other people. And what that did, Vidar, was enable the local library staff to sort of get involved in a very concrete project that they could see had a concrete contribution to the SDGs relating to food production, for example. So I think, you know, having something that everybody can do like that is kind of crucial. Otherwise, you're, to a certain extent, asking people just to read a lot of information and get enthusiastic about text. So exactly. Having activities really helps.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Not any more questions. Thank you again, Stuart. And we just move quickly on to the next speaker, which is Sherry Aldis from the UN Regional Information Center for Western Europe. Are you there, Sherry?
I am here.
Yes, Thank and you would like to share a presentation as well.
I will share my screen. Thank you very much, Vidar. And thank you very much, Stuart. That was a fantastic introduction, and many of the things that you spoke about I will probably touch on too, but hopefully from a different angle, and just great to see those local initiatives that are taking place. You know, we know how engaged librarians are with their communities and committed to the Sustainable Development Goals, and some of the examples that you shared, I think, are really speak to that. So thank you for the invitation. Thank you to IFLA and to Loida for the invitation to speak today. I always enjoy speaking to librarians, as some of you know. Until about a year ago, I was at UN headquarters and worked very closely with many of you and with IFLA on SDG-related projects such as the SDG Book Club and many others. I'm now in Brussels. I moved here at the beginning of 2022, and I'm now in charge of UN communications for Western Europe. So with my team, we cover communications for 22 countries and 13 languages. And of course, the SDGs are one of our main priorities. We are halfway to the 2030 deadline now, and that promise, as I think we all know, is in deep peril. It is not looking good. The SDGs are a fantastic promise, but they're not a guarantee. We have to work at it. And we've seen that for the first time in decades, development progress is actually reversing due to impacts of climate disasters, conflict around the world, including on the European continent, a global economic downturn, and of course, we still have the impact of COVID-19. We've seen tens of millions of people falling into poverty. Inequalities have worsened, and as always, for the most vulnerable principally, so women and girls, and more people are being denied healthcare and education. We also see the climate crisis wreaking havoc on lives and livelihoods. We all saw last week in the news that the Earth broke its all-time temperature record 2 days in a row, so not once, but twice in 1 week. And I think if we didn't have a sign that the planet is telling us enough is enough, last week was it. In terms of Europe, the UN agency, the World Meteorological Organization, has told us that Europe is warming twice as much as the global average. So that's quite bleak. There is, however, a sign of hope. We always have to hold on to hope and things that we can do. So even amidst this climate crisis, more electricity was generated by wind and solar than by fossil fuels in the EU. So we are, going in the right direction, but it's not enough. It's really time to change our way of doing things significantly, and we need to do it now. So as I said, we are off track. These visuals show you a little bit the progress, for example, or the lack of progress on extreme poverty. The Secretary General nevertheless tells us that it's not too late to turn the tide. And so today, what I really want to use my time with you to do is to talk about what we're doing at the UN to do that, and also how you as librarians can continue to help. As I say, I know how much you're already doing. One crucial thing that you're helping to do is helping to fight misinformation by fostering education and the sharing of science and facts, and also by providing a healthily and hopefully environmentally friendly place for dialogue and discovery on topics related to the SDGs. You provide the content, you provide the physical space that will allow us to learn and to move forward together. And as Stuart was explaining as well, I know that many of you are mainstreaming the SDGs in all that you do, because it's about communicating about the SDGs and sharing the knowledge and the science, and also adopting SDG-friendly practices in all of your activities. We're very encouraged to see the creation of sections and committees dedicated to sustainability in both national and international library associations, the really active participation in activities and programs and communications about the SDGs, the adoption of environmentally friendly practices, and also the sharing of resources and reliable information. We can see through all of this, and I've said it for a very long time, there's such a natural synergy between the SDGs and the values and priorities of libraries. So libraries make a direct contribution to the SDGs, like number 4 on quality education, and of course number 16 on peace, justice, and strong institutions, because of the access to information that you provide so competently. So this year, as Stuart alluded to, there are 2 big rendezvous for the Sustainable Development Goals. One is starting this week, the High-Level Political Forum, or the HLPF, where countries come together to report on their progress in achieving the SDGs. They also share their challenges and success stories. So it's a moment of hopefully truth and honesty and even humility from the developed world towards the developing world. We do have about 13 countries, European countries, presenting their second voluntary national review. And for the very first time, the European Union will present a collective voluntary review. So that is something I think that is really quite important this year and will complement the national reviews that we will also see. And then the second main event of the year is the SDG Summit during the General Assembly in September. It's a very timely summit and an opportunity really to encourage world leaders to move from rhetoric to action and actually fulfill the promises that they've made. They have signed up to this program, the SDGs, and now it is time to act. No country can afford to see them fail, and we absolutely have to move forward. But it's not just world leaders that have a responsibility to act. We all do. We know that in our daily lives, we can make real change. There are a few examples on the slide here, but there are also many others. The visuals that you see here are part of a new campaign that we launched last week in order to support action at this halfway point to 2030 in advance of the high-level political forum and also the summit. You can use these resources. You can support this action by posting and sharing these calls to action. There are many resources. These are general ones, and then for each of the 17 SDGs, there are cards that have facts and figures on them. There are also calls to action like you see here. On the bottom of the slide, you can see the link where you can freely download any of these visuals and many more that can be used on your social media, on your websites. You can print them as posters. However we can get the word out, it would be very helpful to us. And I will share the presentation so you can activate that link. Another very concrete example of what we do every year with the European Union and also our friends, the Smurfs, as you can see, is the EU beach cleanup. So this activity starts in June and it runs through the 16th of September, which is World Cleanup Day. And so it's really to encourage people all over Europe and the world to go out individually or in groups to clean up beaches and rivers and canals, but also just the streets in cities and towns to remove litter from the streets in order to prevent it getting to the water. So we remove litter from the water and also from the places that it can flow into the water from. You can see a few pictures here, some of the things that we've done with the group of colleagues and friends in Brussels, and also you can see a picture of me and our deputy director on a kayak cleaning up the canal in Brussels. So that is really walking the talk. This is something that I really encourage all of you to organize cleanup events in local communities this year and every year. It's a really easy and concrete way to contribute to improving several SDGs, including, of course, life below water. Something else that you can do that is very simple is to download an app that we developed called Act Now. So again, this message of we need to act now. Up until fairly recently, the Act Now app recorded climate-related activities, and it's now been expanded to record individual and collective actions for all of the SDGs. Very, very easy to register, and you can register, as I say, in a group or the library, for example, and track people's actions in favor of the SDGs. We've already recorded nearly 13 million actions, including the cleanup activities that I just showed you. And this app is available in several European languages, including English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish. And we're working on translating it into many other languages as well. And we're working with the European Union. This will become one of the main platforms that the EU will use in order to record public efforts in favor of the SDGs. And then mis and disinformation. And hate speech, I would add. This is one of our major focuses at the moment. Mis and disinformation undermines every single one of the SDGs. I won't go through this entire list, but these are examples of how it is impacting all of the UN's work and all of the SDGs. We released a policy brief a couple of weeks ago. There's a link to that on the slide. It's a policy brief on information integrity on digital platforms, which sets out the UN's framework for a concerted international response. This policy brief, you can read it, of course, and share it. I really encourage you to take a look. It is something that has been highly awaited by many European member states and the EU as a complement to some of the regulation that already exists and the responses from civil society, from academia, to try and work together. We have to work together. We can't do this alone in order to protect our information ecosystem, which is currently extremely polluted, notably because of digital platforms. So this work that we're doing is in preparation for an actual code of conduct, the code of conduct for the integrity of digital platforms that will be published next year, just ahead of the Summit of the Future. It has been requested by the Secretary General of our department, the Department of Global Communications, in order to really give guidance to the platforms, but also to governments and policymakers, to academics, to the media, to the general public, to see how we can work together to improve the quality of reliable information, to ensure that we have reliable information online. We see this as an existential threat to the SDGs, to our human rights, our democracies, our planet, and our health, as we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic. People lost their lives because they were ingesting mis and disinformation online. So there's a very crucial role for libraries in disseminating reliable information, as I said a couple of times, and it is even more important in this polluted information ecosystem. So that is really something very concrete that you can help us with. I would also like to share with you some resources that we've developed specifically for Europe. So we have information on the SDGs in many European languages. You can see them listed here, so I encourage you to use that. We also have a background on the SDGs that gives many, many links and resources to the Sustainable Development Goals. We have that in English, French, and Spanish. And you can also subscribe, many of you already do, I know, subscribe to our monthly newsletter, which gives you an overview of new websites and publications. And of course, because of the priority of the SDGs, much of that is on the Sustainable Development Goals as well. So I would, I've said some quite negative things and painted a bit of a bleak picture, but I also want to finish on an encouraging and a positive note that we actually can change things. Again, it's up to all of us together to do this. I shared some ideas for things that we can do. I'm sure that the other speakers have many others. We can't lose hope. We have to work together to really protect our planet and stand up for our rights and unite around our common goals. And I know that librarians are a key part of that in both your personal and professional lives. And I'd like just to thank you for everything that you have already done. Thank you for your attention today and also your commitment. I look forward to hearing the rest of the speakers. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. I will have to leave you fairly soon because we have a visit from the Secretary General coming up this week. And so lots of things to look after in order to prepare that. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to stay for a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sherry, and thank you for a great presentation, and also especially for reminding us the role libraries have in the information aspect of the library work. That's a great reminder. Yeah, having a reminder on that is very important. There are no questions in the chat. No, there don't seem to be any more questions in the chat. A cool campaign was a remark from Loida on this. I guess it was on the Smurfs. I guess the Smurfs are a love-hate relationship.
Yes.
We will share those resources. We do have campaigns with the Smurfs. They're very supportive of the Sustainable Development Goals. And of course, this new campaign that we have on Act Now. So as you see, we can share the presentation. All the links are there. All that can be used and shared as much as you want.
Thank you very much. Will do. Okay. Thank you again. And let's go to Spain and to Alicia Sayes Carot, something like that, I think. You're a member of the MLAS and also president of the FESABID, but also you are a member of the EBLIDA, the European Library Organization, Library and Information Agency, which is also a membership organization. So has been working with the SDGs for many years. So,
Okay.
Alicia, the screen is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vidar, and thank you, Magdalena, Loida, and everybody organizing this kind of webinars. Thanks to the MLAS sections too for all the work they are doing, we are doing. Because I think to share and to talk with colleagues is always inspiring and enriching. And I want to thank the opportunity to do to do it today. But as Vidar has explained in this session, I have two different hats. I'm the chair of EBLIDA LCA Working Expert Group. I'm going to explain what is this. And I'm the past president of FESAVID, but I'm still the representative of FESAVID in everything, every actions in regarding with the 2030 agenda. So I have thought that I have the opportunity to divide my intervention in two parts. In the first one, I would talk about LCA group and all the actions that EBLIDA is carrying out. And in the second one, if I think I have enough time to do that, I will share two ideas for the national level, no? Because for FESAVID and for me, I think it's the most relevant idea, and we have focused on that. So I'm going to try to do that in 10 minutes. Let's start with the EBLIDA actions. I have not a slide presentation. I want to share my screen because all the information about EBLIDA and the working expert group it's on the website. I think you can show that. Okay. The first issue I want to explain is that from EBLIDA, we always are saying that we need, or it is necessary, an European approach for the sustainable development. And it's that for three main reasons. The first one is because as 2030 agenda said, all the goals are interpreted in the local level, but here for the European Union, we have the European Union context. So we need to reinterpret the SDGs in this context. The second one is about the indicators and the voluntary national reviews, because we have the Eurostat's indicators. We have to link these indicators with the 2030 agenda. And the third one is that in the European context, in the European Union context, we have readapt or rethink all the EU programs and projects, and just to comply with these SDGs from the Union nations. So with this European approach, in the executive committee of EBLIDA, we created, I think, 3 or 3 years ago, the LCA group. This is an expert group because the main goal is to advise the EBLIDA executive committee in policies on implemented projects, on policies or indicators. And we are focused on the implementation and in the assessment is the topic. Now we want to know what the European libraries are doing and what is they are focused on what things. I think we want to disseminate information. We want to encourage or to motivate European libraries to change the point of view and put in the context of the sustainable development. So we are 15 members coming from 11 different countries. More of them are represented in these sessions, and the interaction between this expert group with the EBLIDA Secretariat has produced some interesting documents I want to share with you. The first one was the first European report. It is available on the EBLIDA website. The main idea of this report is just to be the first one, no? Is identify, know how European libraries were working, if they are SDG oriented or not, what model policies or indicators they are using. I think it's a very interesting document exactly for that, because it's the first one with an European approach and European view. This is from 2020, and the second one is the second European report is in collaboration with the National Library of Latvia. It is 2 years later, and the main difference from the first one, the first report and the second one, is their intention, because in this one, in the second one, we want to build country profiles. We want to ask, we have asked countries to explain their background, who is who working on SDGs in this country, what are the priorities and the policies linked with SDGs, if they have SDGs-oriented projects in the library sectors, the funding and the evaluation, because we are focused on that too. And just in March, we have updated that in, it's exactly the same report, but we have more projects, we have only including more projects with reference with the European Union funded programs. All of them, the three reports bring us a picture of European libraries and SDGs. I think they are a very good tool to know, to identify the opportunities, idea. It's just you can use them like something for inspire and to take. And I think it's a very useful tool to build a strategy, to build and focus on. I think we need to have all this the global vision of the European libraries working on that. But from another point of view, all this information we have collected from countries, institutions, and organizations we have used all this information to create, which in my opinion is a very important products. We can talk about two main products that they are available in the EBLIDA website. The first one is the EBLIDA matrix. The EBLIDA matrix is just a matrix. We are putting in or we are linking for each SDGs, Europe EU programs that can be relevant for libraries, SDGs, the SDGs projects and best practice coming from libraries, opportunities for funding, and indicators, library indicators and Eurostat indicators. We say for each SDGs, we are analyzing what can we do and about funding, projects, indicators, all the information. I think it's, for me, it is a very difficult work, but really very useful, because you can inspire, you can know what are they doing with libraries and relating with each SDGs. And the most important thing in the EBLIDA is to link the European funding, structural and investment funds with SDGs and library projects, SDG oriented. And the second one project is the Knowledge and Information Center. this is the same idea of country profile. We have, I think, amount of countries. If you click, for example, in Spain, you can identify who's the main organizations, what is the main activities. I think we have useful links and inspiring links just to create contact on the library field in each country. And now, the past in April in Luxembourg, we went in the BLIDA conference, and we can now this is still in development, but I think it's the new product, and it is very, very interesting because it is a discovery tool for library planning and a community tool, because it wants to facilitate partnerships and create relations between libraries, institutions, and library projects. For example, we have one project here, and he's coming from Portugal. He's his competitor not, and what SDGs are relations in this project. I think we want to share, but this is now we are collecting information. I think many of you have received an email saying, please register in this Epanema tool. I think coming from the EBLIDA Secretariat, we want to take much information about libraries and SDGs, and just to have a community tool, just to create the relations between libraries, institutions, and other agents working on libraries and SDGs or SDGs oriented projects for libraries. And I think I have 2-3 minutes more to change my hat, just for finishing with BLIDA tools. I think we have too much information, but we have identified people working on SDGs in all Europe, and I think now we have to create action and interactions between them. And I'm going to continue my intervention with the 2 ideas I have promised before about the Spanish or FESAVID visions. We want to be very, very active in library advocacy, but focus on SDGs and 2030 agenda. And the first idea, I'm sorry because the web page is only in Spanish, but the first idea is FESAVID. When FESAVID was thinking about what can we do in policy, library policy, we think the main idea is we have to be more strategic on raising awareness and influencing in library policies, no? And it is need to have a global view, no? We wanted to help libraries to go beyond individual good practices. It's for that we created a working group, Libraries and 2030 Agenda. We have all the reports and all the documentations in Spanish, I'm sorry, in this web page. But I think it's something similar that Stuart has explained in his presentation, but we have proposed to the Cooperation Council for Libraries that this is a very important council. It's an advisory body from the library policy in Spain. We have created a national strategy for libraries with a sustainable development approach. We have built a multi-level strategy. I mean, we offer 4 different action lines for developing actions in all the library management levels, since high level from bottom one. No, we are talking about advocacy and activism, library field, civil society, other public administrations, departments. We are talking about library services accessible for all, partnerships, rural areas, inclusion, digital transformations. We are talking about library services focusing the community and the local public policies, relations, literacy, services, activities, etc. And the last one is data, data, data. No? We need much data, library indicators, but not the current on the traditional ones. We need to show, to identify exactly what are we doing. No, we need to change all the indicator systems for libraries. I think this is a difference between our strategy and the strategy that Stuart has presented, because since the Cooperation Council, we can't create plans. We only can recommend, give advice, and we have to try that library institutions use this strategy for their own plans. I don't know if I explain myself, but I think we are working, FESAVID is working always in the cooperation framework, only in the cooperation, only is an advisory body, is the last thing we can do. And finally, the second idea is not to be shy and interact with all the agents involved within the framework of the 2030 agenda, not only for library visibility, but also for cooperations. In Spain, the governance structure for 2030 agenda established 3 functional levels of articulations. The first one is the government delegate commission coming from the ministries. The second one is the sectoral conference from the 2030 agenda, is for local and regional governments. And the third one is the Sustainable Development Council. This is an other advisory body, but it's advisory and collaborative, and is the channel for the participations from the civil society. We have more than 60 organizations in this council, and FESAVID is one of them. We are talking and interacting with unions, non-governmental organizations, private sector organizations, academic institutions. We are working in commissions, working groups. For example, FESAVID was in the building a strategy for Spain for the National Voluntary Review in 2021. And I won't finish my intervention with these 2 ideas. Please do not be shy, work together with other agents, and be a strategy, not only working in the library level. You need to go for a big model too. So thank you so much for listening to me. And if you have any questions or any comments.
Thank you very much, Alicia. And there was a question in the chat, but somebody else answered it for you. It was the link to Epanema.
Okay. I got it. This is a development tool. Yeah. This is in development. So if you have, maybe a Blida Secretariat is going to send emails to individuals before to make the official presentation for this tool. So if you can wait for this, we will be very active, and we will send the.
Yeah, so somebody shared the link in the chat here, but let's just remind them that it's not yet public, right?
No, it's in development. It's public, yeah, but yeah, it's in development.
Yeah, still on the work.
I'm going to say.
Yeah. No more questions, but praises for your presentation. Thank you so very much, Alicia. And we have just one more presentation before we have the breakouts. That is Jacqueline Breidlid from the German Library Association. Thank you, Alicia, and you have the screen, Jacqueline.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I will just share my screen 1 second. Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Yes, I guess.
Yes,
so.
yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, so hello everybody. Greetings from the Library of Gütersloh in Germany. It's a small town. We're having our board meeting here, and it's way above 30 degrees, maybe even a bit more in this room. So please do bear with me. So sustainability has been one of the main topics for the German Library Association for a few years now. We've also reached a few milestones quite recently, and I would like to give you a little insight into this today. So just to give you an idea of what I will talk about, I will first say something about how libraries in Germany contribute towards the SDGs. I will then delve a little bit into how the DBV, so the German Library Association, supports libraries within their SDG activities. And finally, and that's for me the most central part, I will talk about the political activities with regard to sustainability of the German Libraries Association. Well, so how do libraries in Germany contribute towards reaching the SDGs? The short answer would be, well, of course, in the same way as libraries from all over the world contribute, namely by being libraries, by doing what they do every single day. And I think the inspiration for realizing this really came from IFLA with the Lyon Declaration, which said that access to information is basically central for reaching all the other SDGs as well. And IFLA brought this into the UN through very good lobbying work and was successful, and this was explicitly recognized in SDG number 16. But of course, access to information is not the only SDG that libraries contribute to. I've listed just a few here. Libraries provide, they're accessible to all. They are so-called third spaces where you can hang out, where you can read something, where you can meet other people. Libraries promote reading promotion and media literacy. They are basically pioneers of the sharing economy, and they provide literature about sustainability, just to name a few. And I think the good news is that in Germany, this has really arrived in a way at the libraries. Libraries are becoming increasingly active. They engage with this topic. And just to give you a few examples, so what libraries increasingly do is to organize so-called repair cafes, so where people come and they bring their broken objects, and then there's other volunteers who help out with repairing them. So there's an ecological sustainability aspect, and at the same time, people get in touch. So there's a community aspect as well. Or as you see on the second picture, libraries engage with young people. They sustainability or do a workshop, and then as you see here on the picture, the youngsters, they together build like a book throne made out of books instead of throwing them away. Or what is coming more and more as well is seed libraries. So you can, instead of renting out books or media, you can also rent out like flower seeds and take them home and bring back some other seeds. And again, there's a community aspect to it. And finally, libraries might do expositions about, for example, plastic and what this means for the environment. And I think a particularly nice example for how the library can really play a community role, how it has an educational role as well, so a contribution to SDG 6 is the so-called Green Laboratory of the City Library of Hameln. In this case, the city library in a small town collaborated with over 34 partners, so with the local school, with the NABUs or the local ecological foundation, with adult education groups. And the library really played the role as like the initiator and the platform and the coordinator, and actually provided this wonderful space that you can see on the pictures where all these different activities took place. So you see on the picture, there's a little stage, there's the books, of course, in the background about sustainability, there's direct access to the forest. And well, this was really a platform where all kinds of different activities could take place, and where the library acted as a central node in all of this. And I think another good news as well is that it's not only a topic that is important for public libraries, but increasingly also for university libraries. So also to just give you a few examples here, the University Library of Greifswald recently switched to LED lighting, and through that saved a lot of CO2. Or at the ZBV in Kiel, they installed some beehives on the roof. So it's probably the bees with the most beautiful view. And they also provide some education about this topic. And at the same time, the library uses like the honey as a local giveaway. Or finally, at the University Library of Mannheim, they're using electric cars and also bikes for transporting books between the different campuses. So you see a lot of different activities. Well, how does the DBV, the German Library Association, support the libraries in these activities, in becoming even stronger and in doing even more? And firstly, I think we at the DVB, we try to support peer learning, to show libraries what other libraries are doing. And for this, we have created a platform. It's called Biblio 2030. You can see the website address here. And on this website, there's a few basic explanations about the topic of libraries and sustainability. There's also some materials that you can download, but I think most important of all, libraries can actually upload their own examples. And by now we have over 80 examples of there, and I think it provides a good way to see what other libraries are doing without that it has to be an activity that is too complicated. So what can you do? Quite easily as a library. Then I think we try to encourage visibility of what the libraries are doing. So we, for example, participate in the German Action Days for Sustainability. And that's a yearly event that takes place in a decentralized way. And everybody can participate in this event, whether you're an organization or a private person, or of course also a library. And every year we get more library activities. So for example, libraries make these sustainability windows where they just collect all of their books and media related to sustainability, or they might have a presentation or a discussion. And if you want a bit of a better idea of all the things that libraries do, you can click on the link in the left box where you find a collection of activities from the year 2020. And I think what was very nice last year, and this you can see in the yellow box, is that our Vice President, Renate Künast, made a little video message where she explained why libraries participate in these days. And incidentally, she's a politician as well from the Greens. So I think through this, the whole topic of libraries and sustainability really got some political visibility as well. Then we encourage knowledge sharing. We educate about the different aspects of sustainability. And so last year, in the year 2022 and beginning of 2023, we organized a seminar series where every 2 months online, we discussed about different aspects of libraries and sustainability. We invited between 1 and 3 specialists, And we had the whole thing divided into 3 different clusters. So we had one cluster about ecological sustainability, where we talked, for example, about ecological library buildings. Then we had one cluster where we talked about education for sustainable development, what libraries can do there. And then we had the last cluster where we talked about libraries and politics and how they can become more visible in the political field. And really everything is online. So if you have some understanding of German, you're very visible to have a look. And there's actually one online seminar that is in English as well. Yes, and then last point, I think we participate actively in international activities as well. So we are, of course, part of IFLA, we're part of EBLIDA for both, as we just heard, sustainability has become an increasingly important topic. I myself am also in the environment, sustainability and libraries section of IFLA. And just to make maybe a little bit of self-promotion, on the 19th of August in Tilburg, in the wonderful Lokal, so a former locomotive hall that has been transformed into a library, so a very good example of sustainability. We're organizing our satellite meeting, which is going to focus on the topic of libraries as actors of climate empowerment. And we will have great keynote speeches, great lightning talks, workshops as well. So it's a whole day that is really set out to be very interactive. And finally, to the last part, our political activities. So just to give you a little bit of background, in Germany, we also have a sustainability strategy, which is basically transposing the SDGs to the national level, which is also measuring the whole thing through different indicators. And this strategy, it's being renewed every few years. And our goal for a long time already has been that we are being made part of this renewal process, and that we're being consulted, and that we, through that, also can influence the indicators a little bit. During the last renewal in the year 2020, this didn't work, unfortunately. We wrote 2 position papers, which you can find here, but well, they were taken into consideration, but we weren't really being made part of the process. Well, since 2021, we have a new government. It's made up of the socialists, the Greens, and the liberals. And with regard to the question, well, new government, new luck, I would really say definitely yes. So the new government has made sustainability one of their central topics. You can see this in the coalition treaty. And this you see under point 1 and point 2. They also want to develop again the national sustainability strategy, and they want to establish specifically a contact point for green culture, which will support peer learning among different cultural institutions, which is also very interesting for us. And well, these might just be empty words, you think, but I think the government has already put part of this into action by having, well, put into place a new state minister for sustainability. Her name is Sarah Ryglewski, and they say it's the face of sustainability in a way. So I think that's very good to have sort of one central contact point. They have also established a new Department for Culture and Sustainability at the Ministry of Culture. So also there's really some new finances for the issue of sustainability. And again, here we took the new government, new luck by the word, so to say, and we immediately requested an exchange with the state minister, with Ms. Ryglewski, which also worked out. And she also held the keynote speech at the last online seminar we had, where it was about sustainability and politics. And she really, I think we couldn't have put it better into words ourselves. She really made a very nice connection between libraries and sustainability. And then afterwards, there was also very interesting discussion, partly with involvement of both local and state politicians as well. And well, the recording of the online seminar is also available in the link that I provided in the slides. Yeah, and since then, I would say things have quite taken off with regard to this participation in the national sustainability strategy. So we have now received invitations to speak with people that we haven't really been able to speak to before. We've been invited to speak to the Council for Sustainable Development. We've also talked to the head of department, this new department that I mentioned, that is responsible for sustainability and culture. And I think most importantly, we've been invited to the so-called Forum Sustainability, which is a forum that meets once a year with the State Minister Ryglewski and ministers from each of the or representatives from each of the ministries and a whole list of different organizations. We never knew quite which organizations were invited, but this time somehow we made it. And yeah, I think it was really the first time that we were involved in this process of developing the sustainability strategy. But of course, with that, the work isn't finished. It goes on. Our voice needs to be continued to be heard. But I want to finish my presentation at this note and maybe just make you aware of the DBV website, where we have a little bit more information about the topic and what we do. There's also a little brochure, which is in German, but I think it provides some insights, and I will also leave you my contact details here. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. I know you are busy getting back to your board meeting. I'm so happy that you could get out a little, but are there any more questions to Jacqueline? Very informative. I can only support that, both on the practical level and the political level, which is very important talking about this subject. No, I can't see any more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And give you our greetings to your board. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, now we are coming to a different part of the webinar. Magdalena, maybe you could take over and explain to us what we should do.
Yes, sure. Thank you for that. So now there is an interactive part that we would like to invite all our participants to have a short conversation in breakout rooms. So we will have 5 great moderators for our discussions. So before I will open breakout rooms, I will say a few words. So in our breakout rooms, there will be discussion about the role or SDGs in Library Association. Our moderators prepared a survey, and they will be happy to share the link to the survey during the discussion and ask all of you to fill in the survey. We will collect all the data and we'll present on the IFLA Congress. And so we will have 10 minutes for discussions. So as I said, 5 rooms. The first room will be in German, and we will have Susan from Austria. Second room is in English, and we will have Loida there, who speaks also Spanish. The third room belongs to Maria, and from Croatia, and she speaks English. And room 4 is for the leader from Norway, and also speaks English and other Scandinavian languages. And the last room is for me, so I speak also English and Polish. So I will open all the rooms, and Zoom take a few seconds for him, and you will see the name of the rooms, and you as a participant, you can choose the proper room in which you would like to join. So we really encourage you to go there and have a quick conversation and fill in the survey.
So Magdalena, are we getting all back?
Yes, I think that we had a very quick discussion. but it's good. We focus on the important things. So thank you everyone who participate in our discussions in breakout rooms, and thank you for filling in the surveys. So now I would like to ask my colleagues and moderators, do you have any feedback from your discussion? Just only a few words.
Yes, I would like to share from my group. I believe we had all the participants answering the questions on the survey. One interesting thought was that associations are, and this is, I think, very positive, are trying to figure out how best to utilize the energy of the new librarians. And it's not always easy, right, how to do this, because there are many factors involved. But I think it's very positive that they are thinking on how best to do this and strategize. And so I will say that please continue doing that, strategizing, and then the next step is action, right? Start with one small, perhaps, activity, and then build on that to include new librarians in your activities.
Thank you, Loida. And Maria?
Hi. So we had also very cute conversation. There are only 3 of us. So we talked about similar situation within our country and similar, let's say, problems that our library associations do not have any strategical documents, maybe let's say yet. And but we all agree that good energy of new professionals and new people can help with advocacy on this level, and we all agree to that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Suzanne?
So the 5 German-speaking participants, we spoke about the questions of the survey. And the first results of our very brief conversation could be that on the question on the strategic document of library association, that there are some documents, but that there is still room for improvements, and those documents are not that well known. And the second point we talked about is that our panel, we all agreed on how important young library leaders are when it comes to spreading the words of the SDGs and when it comes to working with library associations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Suzanne. And Vidar?
Well, we came mostly to the question 1 about the documents and the background, and we concluded that it's important to find out how to get from the strategies and onto the practical issues, and how to work practical with the SDGs in each library with the help from the library associations, and what kind of library associations do. And I think it's not a spoiler to say that that's also something the next presentation will have some information about.
Yeah, thank you, Vidar. And at the end, for a few words from my discussion in my breakout rooms. So we said that SDGs is not only a job for library association, it's a job for all of us. And it's for us, it's natural that all the libraries should be a part of it. And also that it's important to be in touch with government, and library association could be more active in this way. So there are a few words more summary we will prepare later, and now I give microphone to Vidar.
Thank you very much, Magdalena. Well done. Now we have 2 presentations left. It's becoming afternoon here in Europe, and Thomas Store Rasmussen is SDG coordinator at the Danish Library Association. And that's great for an association to have an SDG coordinator on its own. So please, Thomas, tell us, what are you doing?
Yes, and you can see my PowerPoint.
Perfect.
And you can hear what I'm saying.
Perfect. Well,
thank you for inviting me. First, I will show you a picture. I hope you can see a picture of a lot of happy library staff. They just got the certification, the SDG certifications as the first libraries in Denmark. But coming to this, where we can all share and all be happy about being certified, we had a kind of a travel or a journey to come here. First, two things about myself. I still work as a special consultant at the Ballerup Library, where I've been working as a staff member in implementation of the certification in practice. So I've seen the certification, how it works in practice. And then today I work in the Danish Library Association as a SDG coordinator. And I'm working closely with COA 2030, which is Christine, who has actually developed the certification. So I have sort of two hats on, or two perspectives on doing this. A brief short story. We started in 2019, and we started out with having a meeting in Odense, where Hans Christian Andersen was born. And someone just said, we have to do something about the SDGs. What can we do in Denmark? How can the libraries doing something? And then we, at that day, started a task force. We were 3 people, and we made a Facebook page. So we started up as activists or fear souls, or what you can call it. Then a year later, we got the certification program. We started that up. And we got a homepage where we sort of collected all the things happening at the SDGs in Danish libraries. That means we got some structure onto the things we were working on. And then the same year, 2021, the Danish government, they asked out in the Danish community who can support the SDGs in Denmark. And we thought what we were doing actually could bring something to the work for the SDGs. So it ended up that we got into the government's plan. We out of 15 targets, we are number 10. It says the libraries anchor the UN's world goals. And the initiatives they would finance in a 2-year project was events about the world goals in libraries, the World Goals Certification Program for libraries, and the competence development for librarians on the dissemination of the world goals. So these things sort of is connected to each other. So the certification, it's run by COA 2030, which is one person called Christine. And it started up in 2021. And it was funded in the start by some funds called Spar Nord and Trygfonden. So the money came from private funding. And then some of the funding today is part of the government's funding. COA 2030 had some experience working with certification. They've been working with some public schools where they have certified some public schools in the SDGs. So we sort of built on that to make certification for libraries. And what do you have to do to be certified? You have to make a 3-year action plans for the local library. You have to develop local activities with the citizens. And this is important. It's with the citizens. It's not doing just local activities for ourselves. It's with the citizens. And then we developed some skills. Some goal is to create knowledge, commitment, and tools for the work with world goals in libraries. So we can share best practice. So we can make relations with other libraries, other staff who's working with SDGs, and we can make network to make projects. So one of the things is you have to get the staff with you. We just talked about that in the breakout room. How can you get the organization with you? And some of the things we're working with is this dogmatic rules. Maybe you can remember it from Danish film movies from 20 years ago. They make some dogmatic rules for making movies. And what we did in Ballerup was ask the staff, what do we need to learn or to be able to work with the SDG? The first thing they said was we need to know more. If we have to tell the citizen what to do or help them to do something, we need to know more. We have to sort out our garbage. That's one thing. We must involve more citizens. We must walk the talk, and we must look to the side and cooperate with more. Like, we can't do this alone, so we have to look at all the organizations, all the institutions, all the other things, the schools in the local neighborhood, and we have to work with them to actually doing something. If we put that into something like a team here, that's anchoring. How can we do it? It was the employee engagement was what I just showed you with the dogmatic rules. What we did there was a democratic process where we actually, in the end, made a hands up. What's most important, and the most important thing was we had to learn more. And then we have the library as a provider of information knowledge. That's the classic library thing. We have the knowledge, so we have to bring it to the people so they can take action on it. The library is a facilitator. That's a new one. And then the library as an agent, own actions. We have to walk the talk. We have to sort of doing things ourselves so we can show the world that we actually are sustainable too. We are sustainable. The libraries are the oldest sustainable thing in the world. Like the books just recycling all of the time. But the library is a facilitator engagement. That's the new thing here. It's about getting some skills, some competences to actually doing something. And what we're working is something called action learning, which have come from Marshall Gans at Harvard University, about organizing people. He's like a pioneer for grassroots organizations. So some of the tools he's working with called people power change. We actually learn our staff around the Danish libraries how to do that. And just to bring it all down, you don't get a certification and you get something shiny, a gold medal or something like that. No, you have to do it your own. So this is from Ishøj Kulturium, where they actually made their own things so they can show that they got the certification. All the best practice we have been doing here have collected and made it so all the Danish libraries could use it, but we actually translate it into English at the moment. So that could be something we could bring on to what we saw earlier. We also do other things to actually provide it. This is what we actually saw from Ireland in the start. In Denmark, we have numbers on the weeks. So we have week 17, and week 17 is number 17 week in the year. So in week 1, we have focused on goal number 1. In week 2, goal number 2, and then we sort of have a countdown or a count up to week 17, where we have this. And we have a lot of partnerships with a lot of organizations, green organizations and consumer organizations and so on. So the status in Denmark now is in May 2022. That was where the picture was taken. The first 10 libraries got a certification, and 10 more got a certification in spring 2023. 9 libraries are working to get the certification right now. So 29 libraries are in the program, and that's sort of almost third of the Danish libraries. That's 98 library systems in Denmark. And then in the week 17 we just held, there were over 70 libraries who was part of week 17 who was working with SDGs with the citizens and making all kinds of things like communal dinners and so on. So that's almost 70% of all libraries who are in there. So to sum up the Danish model, we have this network, and this network we started out with, it had to be a network where we said it cannot be a library network or only a library network, because then we have a lot of blind angles where we're looking at it. Then it would be something libraries talking to libraries. So actually the network, which is all the things are built upon here, is with green NGOs, are with consumer NGOs, are with organizations and other people who actually have the knowledge about the SDGs and climate change and so on. So they sort of come into us and get the knowledge they have, so we can use that. Then we do it in week 17. That's the events. That's the action they're doing out. We're helping leave no one behind, like leave no one behind small libraries. They should be able to just doing something tomorrow, an exhibition or something like that. So we're streaming things out to them in week 17 and so on. So all Everyone can be there. Then there's all the local SDG libraries. We have the SDG certification, which sort of is the way you are working with it in the organization. Then we are actually educating SDG ambassadors. There are now 40 SDG ambassadors representing 23 libraries in Denmark. And they sort of get the knowledge in these things so they can actually help doing the certification, help doing the events, and so on. And then we have the Danish Library Association, who's sort of organizing it all in this DB 2030. That was it. If you have anything you want to know more, you can ask both Christina and me. I will put the contact in the chat so you can see it.
Thank you very much. You actually got a question in the chat.
Yep.
What exactly is the incentive for the library or librarian for them to become certified, besides saving the world?
It's saving the world.
Saving the world.
Yeah, I think something we learned on the way is that the local politicians are very aware that we're getting a certification. They can see that it's important for the local community, because they have the same as we have as normal citizens, and me as a father to a daughter. We want to do something. So then with the local library actually doing things in Ballerup, where I'm still working. My boss is here. That's Ravinder Kaur Petersen, who's there. Actually is in a SDG. What you call it, under the local community. They have a group working with the SDGs, that is, working with the local SDGs, and we have a festival every year called the World Best Solutions Live, and then we provide that, and the politicians actually think this is important. They actually they're proud of us doing this thing. So that's one thing. The other thing is. I've been working, I'm the old music librarian, so I have the right education. I've been working with libraries I have a 25 years jubileum next month. I've been working to get more young people to the library, lending out more books, get a lot of projects with the local institutions, gymnasiums, high schools, and so on. And it's always been like, I have to break down a door, tell them that the library is more than just books and shelves. We can do so much more. We have a makerspace, all of the things we can do. But the SDG is a common language that opens all these doors. So now we can get the young people to come at the library because it's their agenda too. And we can get all the other people to come down here. So if you're working with something, literatures, for example, we are actually developing in this project a masterclass in futures literacy, which is developed by UNESCO. We're actually making a masterclass where we're taking literature into this. So all of the of us who still think that library is only literature and books, suddenly the books can bring you hope, utopias, and so on. And you can actually use our skills to actually get hope into people who want a better sustainable world. So that's what in it for all of them. It puts the library skills in a much higher, what can you call it?
Purpose.
Yeah. Yes, purpose. Thank you, Vida.
Thank you very much. Very inspiring. And now we just have to go on to our final speaker, Dr. Claudia Serbanuta from Romania. Are you still with us?
Yes, I am, and thank you everyone for your patience and for allowing us to do our presentations. Thomas, that was very inspiring examples of activities from your country, and if you have the map of Europe in your mind, we are moving from a more western part to the more eastern part of Europe with another example. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and please allow me to to give you now, after almost 2 hours of work, to give you like an exercise. I call it zooming in and zooming out exercise. And actually I learned this at IFLA, because whenever I started to go to IFLA events, coming as a student and then as a librarian, and I always had this problem of, oh, this is very nice, somewhere in the world, but back in my country, the reality is different. So I find it helpful to practice this zoom in and zoom out. So if your brain now is somewhere in Europe, you have the Europe map in your brain, we are zooming in on Romania, which is a country in Eastern Europe. And I'm going to propose like 2 exercises now. We're going to zoom in from the top down, from a network association, national association perspective into the libraries, and then also a bottom-up one, from zooming really in a small rural library in Romania and see it's happening there in relation, of course, with the SDGs. I think the SDGs are a very important platform, as Thomas mentioned, to have a common language, not only between professions and interests, but at the global level. And it's a great opportunity, but I think we need to not forget the differences in politics, in economics, in cultural and social realities of our libraries, of our librarians, of our communities. And those play a great role in how we are able to advocate for libraries to be part of the SDG movement at national level, and how librarians are able to help their communities really be part of these global, very ambitious objectives. So I will jump in and take you to 2018. Where for the it was a unique opportunity for the Library Association of Public Librarians and Libraries from Romania, in partnership with the Library Association from Republic of Moldova, to implement a project on SDGs. And this was part of international advocacy program of IFLA. Some of you probably participated in the events. Some of you probably know. We applied in 2017, but we could not get the funds because our plans were too ambitious. And that's specifically because it was an advocacy program. And when we looked at our capacity at that point, I was a volunteer in the project, in writing a project and implementing. We realized that our level of advocacy at the association level was actually a starter level. So we came in the project with a lot of energy and a lot of hope. We did many activities, including a big training where we had libraries interested in participating. We had other library associations participating in our events, and that's Romania has 3 national library associations and a number of NGOs that are working with libraries to support, develop their services and increase their impact. We had a great trainer, Vesna Vuksen from IFLA was with us. So it was a really, really transforming event. This happened in Chișinău in the Republic of Moldova. We had 20 librarians. And everyone left there with a clear understanding of how libraries are part of the SDG plans and what they need to do at their local library to build up a strategy. And this was very useful, for example, when the local administration got to think of their own plans, they reached out even to libraries, and librarians were able to help in developing those plans for the local authorities. And the librarians that participate in our training really went out to talk about this to other libraries. So more or less librarians from Romania and Moldova were really part of the movement in the 2018, 2019. We started to think in a bigger picture about what we can do in terms of SDGs and libraries. And what came next, actually, it's life, right? When you have an association and you have a profession that is really on the front line of responding to social need and with very little support from funders or government, then advocacy efforts like this that we started with IFLA support could not be maintained at the same level. So the intensity of advocacy work decreased. We had the COVID pandemic who hit everyone, hit us as well. Then like in other places, we had local, national, and also within the association, we had elections, we had change. And with changes, we kind of tend at the national level not to continue any plans from previous governments or previous organizations. So things got lost on the way in terms of having a big voice and a unified voice in this direction. And I would like to also add the reality of being very close and to a war, that the war that's happening in Ukraine is affecting all the libraries, all the people actually in the region, but also librarians, as they're trying to respond to and adapt to this ongoing crisis that they have to live in, day out. So this is changing the priorities of a library association, of a librarian, of a community, actually. So the Library Association of Public Librarians and Libraries from Romania, it became a member of a sustainable Romanian coalition of NGOs and organizations that are supporting SDGs. But this is civil, public, private kind of community that is underfunded. So the work done there is important, brings visibility to the movement, but it's not putting a big light on libraries. And at the same time, when the national state plan was developed for the Sustainable Development Goals, libraries were not present in any shape or form and continue to not be visible within the national strategy. And now what happened is that, of course, we've seen this in the previous presentation, and we know this from our own libraries. Our libraries are working towards the SDGs. It's a matter of assuming and planning for positioning our work within the SDGs and within the bigger strategies. The Library Association continues to do a great work in terms of activities for libraries, innovative activities, and really talking about topics that our communities are not used to talk in relation to libraries, like eco-library and health, a more healthy life, with the support of libraries. So I think this is quite important. But we are not there in terms of advocacy efforts and assuming an active role in advocating for libraries being part of, in a more, I would say political, but also like administrative role within our national, regional, and local administrations. And now I would like you to zoom in very, very much in a nice place in Romania, somewhere between woods, very fresh air, nice green environment, where you can land in Shirna Library, which is very close to Bucharest, actually. If you ever fly in, please make time to visit. This library is run by one librarian, Camelia Iuliana Pârvu, and she's one of the participants from the 2018 training in Chișinău. That training was really important to her. I've been volunteering with her in the past years, and she always tells me about how important and eye-opening that experience was for her to really understand her position within the community. And in the same year, she was a runner-up for the IFLA Green Library Award. A rural library from Romania was the first library to in the country to have solar panels, to be powered by solar panels. And that's because of a librarian's work. So in this context, Camelia really positioned her work in the library towards having a green library and looking at that sustainable objectives, if you want, but she realized that, you know, that's not the only thing that she can do. She can try to address as many of the SDGs as she can find, and she can find support for in her community. And you have a QR code, you can scan it, and then you'll end up being seeing a presentation of hers with the ENSULIB workshop series about the trajectory of her work within the past years. But what I think it's really important is the way she got to keep at it, very with a lot of perseverance and energy. Again, one librarian doing all this. And she applied, won, and implemented, and got an award for her implementation for an Erasmus Plus project about adult education, involving more than 1,000 people in her activities, and also creating the first policy, sustainable policy document of her village, approved by the local council and the mayor, with her work. And this happened in end of last year. She is one of the partners from the Department of Sustainable Development in Romania. She's recognized as an actor, but then moving from one voice, one actor, to a national strategic positioning and advocacy work, that's a lot of effort that needs to be put in. And just to mention, because Moldova is, we're sharing a history and we're sharing a language with Moldova, and we had the workshop done together with the Library Association in Moldova. I just want to mention that Moldova is even more closer to the war and more directly impacted by the war in Ukraine as we speak. Nonetheless, the librarians continue to do just great work in terms of their regular activities, and also thinking about the bigger picture, the SDGs, and our plan for a shared future. And just this spring, they had the UNESCO national committees from Latvia creating an event in Chisinau where librarians from Moldova could present their work and think about more strategic ways in which the association could help position the work that is already done for bringing more support and visibility for the work done there. So in the zoom in, zoom out exercise, I think it's very important to think really hard if we are serious about leaving no one behind, because that's an important statement. And if we decide this is important, then no one means even the rural librarian. No one means even the librarian who doesn't have the support of local authority. No one means type of libraries that we have not thought are very popular but can become popular, and so on and so forth. I think it's important, especially within this framework of European libraries and the management of library association group, to think about the gaps that in capacities that exist between library association. Those are real and are impacting the work done by libraries on the ground. So we have libraries, and that's, I think I've been around with IFLA conferences for a long time. We have great librarians around the world. We need to have great library associations and leaders around the world as well. And the need to keep advocating, encouraging leaders to continue growing and supporting each other in the process, I think are the ways to do that. We are keep learning, developing, and looking forward to learning from you guys in the future as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Claudia. That was very, very well spoken words about our common responsibility, I believe, as librarians, and how to share our engagement and visions throughout the world. Thank you so much. So that was our last words. I don't think you got any questions other than a statement from Maria here, which I can only support. Thank you for this positive and powerful talk with a great success story from Romania. Absolutely. And many good examples, also comments here. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who has lasted so long, a little over time. That's how it is when you have engaged people, and I really appreciate this webinar. I hope you did as well. And can I only say also that, as you can see, it's been recorded, so it's possible to, if there is anything you would like to see again, or if you'd like to share it with someone, it will be shared on our YouTube channel, and that will be published in different channels, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you found this information on this webinar, it will be published. I think we are talking about in sort of end of July. There are some holidays and things coming now, but there will be recordings published on this. So thank you to everyone who has contributed throughout Europe, both on a European world, UN level, and down, not down, but to the local and practical level, which is very important. We all, as one of our politicians say, we all live in local communities and we participate in our local communities, and we should not forget that, even if we work in a library or library association or on other levels. We all live in local communities. So then I will say thank you everyone from here. Thank you to Magdalena and the rest of the NPSIG who has contributed with both practical and other contributions here. And so I hope I'll see you again. I hope I see some of you in Rotterdam at the IFLA conference. And thank you from us here in the MLAS.
Thank you, Vidar. Yeah, thank you, Vidar, for your help.
Thank you. And